So welcome to another episode of the Beer Defend podcast. As you know, the world has changed in the last couple of weeks. There's a lot going on around the world. Here in South Africa, things are getting close to being a lockdown. Anyway, I decided to, obviously it affects the podcast in some way, and I've decided to pivot a little bit and start doing more podcast conversations with people. And I'm touching base with my mates around the world, finding out what's going on, how the coronavirus has affected them. And they're also introducing me to some of their friends. So I'm meeting new people, as usual, which is great for me because I'm really enjoying that. And I'm going to be bringing you some of their stories over the next couple of days, next couple of weeks. Who knows how long this is going to be. Anyway, I hope you enjoy. And here's an episode for you. So
Yeah, look, I think South Africa's numbers are low, right? Partly because perhaps they're not testing, but I think it's also a case of we're waiting to see what happens. Same as what the UK did. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it's getting worse. It's getting closer. It's now on our shores. Oh no, it's in London. It's everywhere.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Yeah, and I think that's the thing is we don't actually have the real number, at our fingertips in South Africa, obviously because they're only testing the people that have been in high-risk areas that are showing specific symptoms and all that kind of stuff. Whereas there might be quite a few people that might not even be, they might just think it's like a normal common cold, and their body resistance is up there, and they haven't been to a high-risk area. But meanwhile, they've been in contact with people that have been in the high-risk area. They just don't know it, and then all of a sudden, they've got it, but they don't get tested, so we don't know. And how many other people?
It's the same across Europe. I mean, obviously the heavier outbreak areas there's a lot of testing going on, but I think most of the other health services across Europe are more focused on, right, let's get our infrastructure ready. There is testing that goes on, but it's not certainly. I think my niece is she's a nurse in London. And, the frontline staff there are not even being tested, although that's supposed to kick in tomorrow.
Okay.
So I just think that the priority is not being on necessarily testing. That still goes on, but it's not testing the population to see the spread. I think this has been going on for a while, so we're almost at a point now where you have to consider that you might have already been infected, or you have to assume that it's in your town, in your village, in your city. It's going to be the person that you're near in the supermarket. He might be contagious. It's that sort of level of spread.
Yeah.
So if you don't look at it from that perspective, then we're in trouble. We have to take this seriously. The rate of spread is phenomenal.
Yeah. And like in your sort of area that you're living in, I mean, when was this like sort of lockdown, or what is the level of lockdown that you guys have got at the moment?
Yeah, there are restrictions in the UK. The UK was a bit slower than other parts of Europe. I've got teams in 4 European countries, so the level of lockdown is different in every country. The restrictions are different. They amount to the same thing, just stay at home. Don't go out in the public unless you have to. And it does vary even within countries. If I look at my restrictions here, we are only allowed to go to the shops for food and then straight home. We can only go to work if we cannot work from home. We can only exercise outdoors once a day.
Okay.
What was the other one? Oh yeah, if there's medical requirements, then obviously you can still go outside your doors from that. But it's a surreal environment.
And I mean, are people abiding by that?
Well, the problem is that we're coming to the end of the winter period, start of spring, and we've had rain for 3 months solid. So as soon as the restrictions came into play, everyone was like, well, I can only work so much from home. The sun's out. I'm going out.
Oh, yeah.
So suddenly we went from a problem where the city streets were full of people. Now we've got a problem where all the countryside's full of people. So yeah, last weekend there was a lot of shock with people and their thousands are out in the open air chatting about, oh, this is such a sorry state of affairs. We should do something.
Yeah.
This
We should
weekend, different
protest.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a police chopper over where I walk my dog. And there were all the car parks and the woods. I'm in the countryside. There's woodlands everywhere where I take my dog. Uh, yeah, the car parks are shut, locked down with coronavirus stickers all over them, as in warning labels, not the virus.
Yeah. Yes.
They're very much restricting and starting to enforce people movement.
Okay.
We're seeing more visibility of the police. I live in a quiet countryside area. You know, the only thing that happens here is a bit of cattle rustling every few years.
All right.
But yeah, it's weird to see that level of enforcement going on. But I think in general, people are like, we understand. We've got the picture now. It took a while. We've got the message. And yeah, nobody likes to be stuck at home with lots of fighting in the family and noise and other challenges. But yeah, cabin fever's kicking in all over the place. So people want to be out. So they're like, the sooner we can get over this, the better.
Yeah.
And I'll do what I have to do.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think here in South Africa as well, it started out with at work we were saying, okay, we're going to start working from home, and then all of a sudden it was like national lockdown, like everyone must stay at home, like the schools must close. Well, the schools closed first, and that's when we like from a work point of view we said, okay, we're going to start working from home for the people that could, and then it was like a week later it was national lockdown, and like now everything's supposed to be closed, and except for supermarkets, pharmacies, doctors, that kind of thing. So the lockdown came into effect, what was it, on Thursday night, Friday morning, and I mean, we're seeing lots of videos of people in downtown Johannesburg and various areas not really abiding by the rules, and and funny enough, those are the people that are at the highest risk. Yeah, so who knows what's going to happen. We've got a 3-week lockdown, and everyone's expecting that it's going to be longer than 3 weeks because the infection rate is just going to continue. But the problem is the way you're locking it down is not the place where the biggest spread's going to be. It's going to be in the area where there's high density living, where people are not following the rules, and they're infecting one another. I mean, yeah.
We don't, other than the rate of spread and the ease of spread, we don't know what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's going to lockdown, and we don't want to, it's a negative message to the nation going, are we going to lock down for 6 months or something like that?
Yeah.
That would not go down well, right?
No.
So you've got to take it a few weeks at a time and see how you get on. But ultimately, even after that, as a business, we were expecting it to decline, and we haven't hit the peaks yet, but we're expecting it to decline in a few weeks after that, after the peak, and then we might go back to businesses. Well, I won't call it business as usual, but resume normal life.
Yeah.
But we do expect a resurgence because we're not testing. We don't know how far it's spread. I think we're going to see about resurges of this outbreak in for many months to come.
Yeah.
It won't be as big as the initial one, and we'll probably have isolated outbreaks, and it'll be contained a lot faster and treated a lot faster. The amount of I was listening to the news in the UK this morning that there's a lot of collaboration going on, even between pharmaceutical companies, universities, healthcare systems, just on the testing side to have more more widespread testing. It's not everybody everywhere, absolutely not. We're talking millions of people, but let's get a sense of where this is at, not rather than just trying to identify who's actually got it when it's too late.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
they got, I think it was 2 tests. You can test whether somebody's got it, but also whether someone's had it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I did read somewhere that the virus stays in your body for like up to 2 weeks after you better.
Yeah.
and they don't know. I mean, you never know. They say they don't actually know if you can spread it at that stage.
No, we don't know.
So that's I think that's the
We
biggest
don't know.
problem. Yeah, they don't know. But I mean, like if you look at China, they up to what 92% recovery. Let me just check here. I've got the stats here on my browser. It's got a China. Where's China? Why is this taking long to update? Okay, there we go. Yeah, they're up to 92% recovered out of the 81,000 confirmed cases, and obviously they had 3,000 deaths. So
I think they've got a handle on it, but they're not. So they relieved the restrictions in Wuhan yesterday, I think it was. So people can't. I don't think they can leave, but people can come back into the city now.
okay,
So that they're starting to ease to see and monitoring the situation and probably relax things more in a gradual phase.
yeah. Because I mean, how do you stop it from flaring up again? You know, if you've contained everyone and the virus like starts you know, everyone starts recovering and everything, and then you're not at 100% yet, but you start letting people interact with one another, and all of a sudden, how do you prevent it from? I mean, because I would imagine people have a resistance to it. They built up a resistance to it, I would imagine, so they can't get reinfected. Who knows? Who knows what the story is there?
That's the story, that once you've had it, you've built up enough immune system, you can't get it again. But I don't know what that means as far as can you still, I don't know, can you still spread it if you're immune? Does that mean that the virus can't still embed itself somehow?
I don't know. We'll leave that up to the doctors.
I'll leave that up to the experts. But I mean, the problem is you might contain it, like China's now managed to do, well, seem to have done, is contain it in the regions with all the lockdown stuff that they have. But all it happens is, well, what happens if it starts spreading from Italy back to China? When they start opening the borders again, all it requires is somebody to go in from another land and outbreak again.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, I'd say we're probably a lot more savvy and reactive, better and able to respond to outbreaks.
No.
So the lockdowns of the future are probably going to be a lot more focused, faster, easy to enforce, because people have got the idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
so, well, I mean, some people were saying that this is just the dress rehearsal for the next virus.
Wow, how many types of flu viruses have we had?
Oh, we've had plenty, but this one they say is the happy mix between the being
happy mix.
The happy. I don't know. From a virus's point of view, not from our point of view, but the unhappy mix between being quite contagious and quite lethal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were telling me a story yesterday. You had to go to the supermarket. How was your experience at the supermarket? How long did you stand in the queue?
Well, I found out that I was I went to the supermarket yesterday to go and source provisions. So it's a normal Saturday routine for me, and I would go in. I'll be in and out in like half hour, 45 minutes. Bang, done for the week. So we now have social distancing enforced, so they only allow a certain amount of people in the shop. I mean, it's a full-size supermarket, which normally you could have 100 people in there, no problem, probably more. They're only allowing 30 people in at any one time.
Okay.
And so everybody has to queue outside. But where you queue outside with your trolley, you still have to keep at least a 2-3 meter distance in this queue, which then snakes all over the car park, exposed to the elements. And it was quite a bitterly cold wind yesterday.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird. And it was like when I got to the front of the queue, naturally the security guard closed the gate in front of me, so I wasn't able to tail in. When I got to the front of the queue, I got chatting to him, and I was like, well, how's today compared to yesterday? I mean, I went first thing in the morning expecting some challenges like this.
Yeah.
And he was like, yesterday was so much worse. On a Friday during the day, all day, they had hundreds of people queuing for and they were queuing for like 2 hours at least
Yeah.
just to get in the shop. I mean, I was all right. It was, what did I have? About an hour, which is fine because I caught up on WhatsApp with you.
That's true. So, I mean, did people do bulk buying before? Or did
Yeah,
you see
I
people...
think the toilet roll crisis has been worldwide.
We didn't
It's
have a
one of the
problem
more
here in South
amusing
Africa.
things as a side effect of this outbreak,
Jeez,
this pandemic.
What's the deal with toilet paper?
I think one day we'll find out, but we're not ready for the answer yet. But
Because, I mean, we
the
didn't have a
stocks are
problem
coming
here.
back.
We didn't have a problem here in South Africa with the toilet paper. Alcohol was a different story. the bottle stores had queues out of them because we're not allowed to buy alcohol. I don't know if you even
I heard
though
that. That's more of a restriction than we have. But if we did that in the UK, I think there would be rioting. I think there's a social element that needs to be taken into consideration.
Yeah. So I can understand them saying, listen, we're gonna tell the bottle stores to close because it's non-essential. But if you go to the supermarket and it's got the wine aisle, you can buy wine. Can't do it, dude. Cigarettes, you can't buy cigarettes.
Yeah.
So that I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, we even when I got in the supermarket yesterday, I had to do a little dance because you still, you go down an aisle,
and there
might
in
be
the
somebody
aisle.
else in the aisle.
Oops.
So you're both thinking, oh, I better, because this is enforced, right? There was a police car that was monitoring the car park, the police in the store checking what was going on, making sure there's no outbreak and violence. Because we had a week ago, the shelves were fairly empty because of panic buying on all things.
Okay.
I mean, there's still a lot more reduced stock now, but it's not as bad. Things are starting to come back to normal.
Right.
So, but they still have to police it. But yeah, dancing around the aisles is something, a new phenomenon. How do you pass somebody in an aisle when they're only so wide? Yeah, and you're both trying to go around each other.
Yeah.
It's like
without
the
being
first
offensive
world's
to
car
one another.
crash.
Yeah, without being offensive to one another. Because, sometimes people would be offended that you taking a wide berth.
Well, the British are very apologetic, so we start apologizing before we even hit each other. Sorry. No, you after you. No, I insist. You go first. No, you go first. Oh, gee, come on.
So, I mean, someone made a comment the other day, and I'd noticed this as well, is that people have been very polite recently in the last week or so when you're in the shops or whatever, because everyone's also, even though we hadn't had lockdown yet, people were understanding the concept of social distancing, and people were being very polite in the supermarket. I expected there to be some sort of like heated interactions, but there weren't. But I have to say, when was it? On Thursday. The lockdown was official Thursday night, so I had to go to the chemist, to the pharmacy, get some medication for my kids, and go drop them off at their place. I was on my motorcycle because the parking lots were crazy.
Sure.
So I go park there with my motorcycle, get my stuff in and out within 20 minutes. Pretty chuffed with myself. I think people had forgotten how to drive properly because I almost got taken out 3 times in 20 minutes, which doesn't happen that often because I like to believe I ride defensively.
Do you think there's a sense of panic and urgency that's creeping into everything?
People had just lost their mind. It's like almost like another situation where that happens is here in South Africa is when it starts raining. People like lose, I don't know, like they forget how to drive safely in those conditions, and people are skipping robots, and I mean they're like almost like they're like there's too much going on and they can only concentrate on so many things at once, and there's one extra thing in the thing to worry about, and then all of a sudden there's sort of like common sense when it comes to following the rules just goes out the window. Anyway, so I mean I had a good go at some dude that was doing a U-turn in front of me. And the thing was that I was riding slowly because I could see that he was like thinking about going. And then as I got there, he went. I was like, I stopped my bike and I shouted some profanities out through my visor, told him off.
So effective.
Yeah.
No,
He
but that's
probably
just
couldn't.
going to
He
go in
probably
one
didn't
ear
hear.
out the other.
He probably didn't hear a word of what I said. But anyway, probably a good thing.
And now you got spittle on your visor. Nice work.
Good points. Good points. Good points. Yeah. Yeah. So.
No, but you're right. I mean, I don't know. It's. I think I saw more of that about a week ago, where people were just hyper agitated. Oh, I don't know what's coming. I don't know what to do. Look after yourselves. Look after your family first. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's a lot more caring this week. Now that everyone is stocked up on toilet rolls, it's all calmed down a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, I haven't gone out. So I started working from home not last Friday, the Friday before. So the whole of last week, I think I went out on Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday I went to go get some groceries. Thursday was the chemist run, and basically I've been in the house the whole weekend. Well, in the house, but I've been at home. I haven't been out. Some buddies of mine have been to supermarket, and they said it's not like it's very quiet, but it's not completely quiet. And people still going to the supermarkets, still people driving around and that kind of thing. And I haven't seen any cops around, so don't know what, maybe they're preoccupied with other areas. But the army, there's an infantry sort of, I wouldn't say base, but residence in Craighall Park, which is probably about 6 or 7 kilometers away from my house. And there were some videos during the week of hundreds, buses of infantry pulling in there to be stationed from there. So, but I'm not sure where they are at the moment. Like I said, I'm not going to believe it's a real lockdown until I see that army truck drive down my street, and I have the army helicopters flying across overhead. But anyway, that's not going to happen. I'm very disappointed.
Well, the military was mobilized in the UK to London because that's the most congested, confected area.
Yeah.
So they were mobilized and as an option. I mean, there's a few activities going on. They're building a temporary hospital with 4,000 beds.
Okay.
In a convention center, which, I mean, they got like, what is it? It's over 1 kilometer long, this room, which they're now partitioning. It's going to be open Wednesday next week. And the military obviously in there with all the subcontractors trying to build this up in time. There's a couple of morgues in there, but that was just the one. There's another one exactly the same size that they can build as well. So they're very much, it's not so much mobilized to calm rioting and disorder. It's probably more around supporting the infrastructure for what is coming.
Yeah. I heard today that they gonna have one of these military hospital ships pulling into New York to help.
That doesn't. I'm surprised. That should have been done already. They should have seconded all of the passenger liners who are not going anywhere, get them in as temporary hospitals. I mean, the USA rate of infection is ridiculously high.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's getting bigger by the day, and it's scary.
Yeah. So, I mean, from your point of view, I mean, you said you're working from home. You've been working 16 hours a day because, I mean, the company that you work for happens to be very busy at the moment during this time because you've seen an uptick in internet usage.
Yeah. So, my organization does a lot. We run data centers. We have a lot of network infrastructure. We deal with all types of customers, whether they are government, health or normal enterprise businesses or small enterprises. A lot of well-known logos that we service. And so the last couple of weeks, although we're expanding and doing great things, we are seeing, with everyone starting to work from home around the world, we're now seeing a lot of demand for extra redundancy in infrastructure to facilitate communications, extra security because there's a lot more home workers. I mean, there's a lot more VPN and dial-in requirements, more than anyone expected. A lot of bandwidth upgrades, a lot of network upgrades, which which is great, but everyone's asking at the same time.
Yeah.
And if we look at, so we rely heavily as well on our customers' infrastructure for things like video conferencing, etc. And because everyone's now working from home, there's challenges around the quality and so trying to have a call which should take half an hour, suddenly you got 5 minutes of quality. So we're having to resort to other means to try and do that. And we're not alone. Everybody's in the same boat.
Yeah.
Despite all the upgrades and all the other things that we're doing at pace, it's unprecedented. So we work on a reaction day by day basis. I mean, if I give an example for business continuity perspective, we always look at what we expect to come. We paint scenarios and what are the actions we're going to take if that scenario comes to pass. So we're ready. The plan is kicked into action, and then we plan the plan after that and the plan after that. Well, we're going through those plans thick and fast on a daily basis. That was the speed of change.
Okay.
It seems to have settled down now, but last week certainly, or the week before when we started, it was, we realized the plan A the next day, and we realized the plan B the day after that. And so, it took a lot of reaction. That's just us. I mean, loads of companies or organizations are in the same boat.
Yeah, sure. So, and you also mentioned that you guys are building data centers. So I'm imagine that all that kind of stuff is on hold at the moment.
We do what we can. It's a bit of a moral dilemma for us. Do we push for construction to continue? No, this is very specialized construction for data centers. It's not residential. A lot of our customers need to provide capacity because their services are in demand, and they service government institutions, healthcare systems, etc. Everybody that we rely on for critical infrastructure. So do we continue to build to make sure that they have capacity when they need it, or do we shut it down to protect the workers? Already on the construction sites, we've got social distancing happening, which slows down construction because a lot of things require people to work in close proximity.
Absolutely.
So we've done all of those measures, and as soon as somebody has a slight temperature, because we do temperature sensors, or we do health, depending on the location, we've got temperature sensors, we've got healthcare questionnaires that anybody entering the site has to go through. Otherwise, they're not allowed access. And any sort of anomaly, people won't go on site. We'll send them back home.
Yeah. It's good.
Into self-quarantine or whatever it is, and say don't come back in 14 days. This has a knock-on effect. So we're at that point where we think we've got a working medium where we feel that people are still protected who have to work. We think it is critical that this infrastructure continues to be built. So it's a moral thing. It's not about business. Yes, we are growing fast, but the focus is not on that necessarily. It's to trying to figure out what the right thing is to do. Corporate social responsibility.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which is we've never had to think about before. Before it was always build it, go.
Yeah. So I'd love to know what the and I'm sure we're going to see very soon what the economic impact is going to be of this whole thing, because I mean, in South Africa, and I suppose anywhere around the world where there's been a lockdown, there are lots of small businesses that, I mean, just think about retail. I mean, take Edcon. You remember Edgar's here in South Africa?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been battling for a couple of years. Yeah, they've been battling for a couple of years, and they're trying to do a bit of a company turnaround kind of thing, business turnaround.
Yeah.
And this has come at a bad time for them. So we don't think they're going to survive.
I think retail is hard unless you're a famous brand that has to be on every main street in every major city in the world. The online shopping is killing those shops off. Unless they are able to compete and change the way they're doing. This is not just about having like a storefront where someone can go and choose a blue T-shirt in your size and it gets delivered next day. You have to go beyond that as a retailer now. You have to try and use the technology to innovate, make you a bit more special, and differentiate with the shop next door. Otherwise, you're competing with people you'd never had to compete with before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I feel for there's lots of businesses that are going to suffer here. I think the revenues are going to be down. People are going to be stopping expenditure until things are more settled, and that's people at home or people or businesses who are about to invest in major things. They're going to park those until they know what's happening, and that's going to have a knock-on effect on loads of businesses.
Yeah, and I mean,
the stats in the US yesterday was like 3.3 million. What was it? 3.3 million companies filing for bankruptcy in the US.
Holy cow!
I could be wrong. I could be wrong on those stats, but it was some ridiculous number. It's a lot more than is average.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's quite hectic. And I mean,
sorry, not company, people. So some 3.3 million Americans filed jobless claims last week.
Oh, that's
it's
right.
Four times the average.
Like yeah.
And this is just the start. Yeah. So, yeah, let's see what happens. But even working culture, everyone's now used to working remotely in this. We've now settled on how we're working, and we've kind of got a groove, and everything still works.
Yeah.
When all this changes, we have to go back to what we were before. It's going to take some adjustment.
Yeah. Well, I think there's going to be a new normal in many cases. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah, because I mean, like the lockdown that you guys have got in the UK there, I mean, is there like a time limit on it, or were they going to reassess, or is it just like until further notice?
I'm looking at, I think there might be a date, but I think I'm looking at this on a week-to-week basis. I'm not expecting to move in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
And then we'll see. I mean, there's speculation. Everyone's speculating by every little thing. So, I'd rather see where we're at in a couple of weeks, because we are expecting to get worse before it gets better. And how long does that take?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, we on a 3-week lockdown, but I'm sure that'll get.
Not sure about the booze and the cigarettes being.
Holy cow, dude!
I mean, we're limited to how many bottles or cases of beer we can buy. So it sounds like a luxury.
Okay, yeah.
Only 3 cases of beer per person. Sorry, calm down.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, I don't smoke or consume large amounts of alcohol anymore.
Well, you won't.
Well, yeah. Even if I was, but at least I don't have the withdrawal issue of not having my cigarettes. Yeah. So someone made a joke. She said they never expected to see the day where it was legal to smoke marijuana, but illegal to walk in the street.
What is this world coming to?
Yeah, how the world has changed. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting times, but I think not just to focus on the challenges and the differences across the world. There's some good stuff, right? We can't just dwell on the negatives and the situation we're in. You got to look for the lighthearted stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean,
new things are emerging, right?
Yeah.
I did an online pub quiz on Thursday.
Oh, really? And how did that go?
I'm rubbish at pub quizzes. So, no, but it was fine. Yeah. I mean, obviously, quality gets an issue if someone's just trying to do this across Facebook or something.
Yeah.
So the guy who'd normally run it at his local pub was like, "I'll just do it from home, guys. Don't panic. We'll carry on." And he was expecting 20, 30 people to tune in, and then suddenly it's 180,000 from 10 different countries.
So
I think we'll see more of this innovative streaming of normal services.
Yeah, so I think all these social networks have now also experienced an uptick in their usage, like TikTok and YouTube and Netflix and Hulu and all those things. I mean, I suppose it's good for them in a way, because I mean, it's more people are signing up for Netflix or some online streaming, or because I mean, you can't go to the movies anymore. They've they closed the cinemas. I mean, like a lot of entertainment stuff has disappeared for now, or been put on hold. So I think I my usage of those on demand video services has increased. Maybe like
Absolutely.
Pornhub or something like that.
And we're now seeing it. It used to be that we'd see the on-demand sort of video streaming mostly in the evenings when people get home from work, or so you'd see a spike in the evenings, but it's all day now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's using the same. So all these other guys like TikTok and all that coming in, they're fighting for the same bandwidth.
Yeah.
So it's a competition.
Yeah. So, but I mean, talking about on the lighter side of things, I mean, people have been coming out with some interesting songs related to the pandemic, and so I mean, there is some lightheartedness stuff out there that one can bank on, putting a smile on your dial.
Everybody's come up with their own lyrics from famous songs around self-isolation and separation. Yeah. There's some good ones out there. But I think, your podcast follows live musicians, and,
they've taken a knock.
It's already tough in that market for live music. But I think, they might just start innovating a bit and doing some sort of alternative online service, right?
Yeah, no, they have.
Subscription based. Yeah.
So there have been some guys that have pivoted. There is a company that does these live broadcasts of musicians called Discover TV, and what they've done is they've now been offering their services to these musicians where they can do live streams of a concert or a little set or something like that, and then they're giving people a vehicle to donate towards that particular artist for that session. And I mean, that happened within a week of the sort of the lockdown coming. Could see the writing on the wall. So a lot of them have pivoted and done that, so which is quite cool. I think it's brilliant that they've done that, but I still think that they're going to feel the effects of it.
Absolutely.
Can
you imagine trying to do a lockdown 20 years ago where there's no on-demand TV or internet wasn't as developed as it is now?
We'd go back to playing Monopoly and Risk
and
charades and Pictionary and...
I think the rates of domestic violence will go through the roof.
Well, listen, dude, can you just imagine a family... look, I say unfortunate. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing my kids at the moment, but we're not living on top of one another. Can you imagine a family that they all go off and do their things, go to school, go to work, whatever, come home, socialize in the evening, and go back off on their routine again. Now they're living in the house on top of one another every day, 24 hours, 24/7, kind of thing. So I think people are going to learn about having to deal with people in their personal space all of the time. I don't know. Well, domestic violence.
Well, at least most people are lucky enough to have a house with separate rooms and Wi-Fi. Potentially you can go and sit in another part of the room, or go and sit outside, and well, you can, depending on where you live, you can't necessarily just pop out, sit on the pavement.
And also weather permitting.
I don't know. You will dress up for the weather if need be. If needs must.
Sure. No, I'm sure. Just don't forget your gloves,
I've got special gloves for being in the queue at the supermarket.
Just don't leave them at home. Anyway, dude. Anyway,
dude, it's been great.
Cool, man. Thanks a lot, Lester. We'll chat soon.
Keep well. Stay healthy. Stay indoors.
Cool. You too, man. We'll chat soon.
Keep the zombies out.
Yeah. Cool.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Bye.